Bum 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 ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 dum dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 dum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum. Bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum. Gustavo, Adolfo, Uribe here, and I'm gonna have a sip of beer just a second. And on this video, I'm just knocking them out. If you see me with the same shirt, then that's because I'm knocking them out. You know what I'm saying? Song productivity tips. Okay. Song productivity tips. Now, if you're a songwriter, you want to write your own songs or get into it, whatever the fuck it is that you're doing, I'm going to show you some tips to knock them out, okay? Because it's really not that fucking hard to write a song if you know the foundation and if you know these fucking tips. Watch. Okay, so I wrote this shit down on my computer. Let me share right here. Okay. This is how Gustavo Adolfo Uribe knocks that shit out of the park consistently. Now check this out. This right here is your cell phone. Okay. You go on the fucking voice recorder here. And there's different ways to write songs, okay? But I'm showing you these tips and then how it all like integrates. I'll break it down and just follow me here, okay? You take this fucking voice recorder, and let's say when inspiration strikes, because inspiration sometimes it just comes, right? Or sometimes you want to make a song like I want to make a fucking, like for example Michael Jackson. I want to make a song with a sick bass line. And then all of a sudden, inspiration came like 2 days later, and it was like boom, 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 and then Billie Jean, right? And if you have the Thriller special edition, you could hear the demo that he did of Billie Jean, and then Quincy Jones did the arrangement, all that fucking shit, and then there you go, a great song. Okay, so take your voice here. And then like inspiration strikes. Sometimes it's a melody. I'm just making that shit up, right? And you're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. Like that can go for like, like a verse or something. And then you could think of the groove, and you're like, oh shit, okay. Like what would go like dun 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 dun. And then do the arrangement like kind of thing, like bass line boom 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 or just whatever, and then you put that shit on, and then you have it, right? Then you have it. It's a sketch of the fucking song, right? That's actually, I just wrote a fucking goddamn song in 2 seconds. So anyways, you take that fucking cell phone voice track, voice rough draft. And then when you go home and you're on your piano or whatever, and you're on your Ableton, you go through the voice, and then you put that shit on Ableton. And then all you have to do is overdub the fucking parts. So you get a rough drum track, get a bass going, you just play it, blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, you got a fucking half of the battle right there. And then you take your fucking... And then we'll get into the next part of this. Is the scratch track, okay? So then that's one part of it. Then the scratch. Okay, whatever. I don't remember how to spell scratch. Whatever. Fuck it. Okay. you get this fucking mic right here, and then you just overdub the fucking voice part like a little bit más o menos. It's like ba 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 ba. That's a bit the instruments. Dun 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 dun. Da 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 da, whatever the fuck it is that you're singing, and then basically you do the melody of the vocals. Now, here's scratch track fucking advanced, right? Use the melody of the vocal, or you can just use words that sound like what it's gonna sound like. It's called like a dummy words. This is a technique the Beatles used to do. All right, you just take words. Doesn't have to make sense. You just make the goddamn scratch track. Okay. So, for example, dun dun dun. Okay. Dun 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 boom 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 dun 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 dun. Okay. Thinking about something, 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 bum, ba bum. Wanna feel, bum, bum, da 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 da, and just kind of add little words that kind of make sense. All right. So then you take those words, scratch track, and then later when you're actually writing your fucking lyrics, you have a sketch, an outline of what it's gonna sound like. So you just fill it in with real words, bro. It's fucking easy. Okay, like feeling like, or thinking like, or being like, anything that rhymes with that shit that you could fit in there and makes more sense, then you could do that. Okay, so that's, you start with the voice rough or scratch track or whatever. Okay, that's one way to increase your productivity, because then from here on you have a sketch. You have an outline. Maybe it's just a voice part or a verse part. Maybe it's a chorus. Maybe it's just a melodic part or something. But then think about it. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I know songwriting because I watched Gustavo Uribe's videos. Okay, and then you realize intro, verse, chorus, bridge, outro. All you have to do to increase your productivity is, once you get one of these things down, then it's like dominoes. It's like, oh, okay, I got this. Okay, now I just need a chorus that starts on a different chord, but that kind of fits, you know? And you knock that shit out. And then like, okay, I need a fucking bridge. Okay, then you knock that shit out. I'm like, well, it's something cool for the intro. Then you knock that shit out, and you kind of fuck with it until it kind of get your demo together, and then you got a cohesive song. You know? And then how do you derive one from the other? Well, it's like logic, okay? It's a fucking formula, okay? You need I, V, C, B, O to make a fucking song, okay? So if you have the chord progression figured out for one part of that, then the other things will make sense, will follow. How does that work? Well, then you have to understand harmony, okay? Harmony and functional harmony, okay? There's actually a theory that certain chords go better after certain chords. Like, it's like a puzzle, right? So if you know, okay, like, what chords am I using for this? And then you break them down. Okay, I think I have a 4 chord, and I think I got a 6 chord, a minor 6 chord, and you know, it's in the key of C or something like that. Well, then you got fucking options, okay? Then if I'll go over the harmony video, I'll break it down for more. But basically, based on this shit, then you're like, okay, well, you know, a 4 chord will sound pretty good here, and blah blah blah, and then you just kind of fill in the gaps. I'll explain that, like I said, harmony later in another video. But basically, that's how you fucking do it. That's how you fucking do it. And then once you got the music pretty much good to go, it's easier to write lyrics to music than it is to write music to lyrics or words. Okay, that's a whole different process right there. But 99.9, you're still gonna have a fucking the music already kind of figured out, and then you put lyrics on top. Okay, so let me do some more productivity tips. I mean, think about what the hell I'm telling you, man. You can actually, with this method, you could get like 5 songs in the bag in like a day. You know, then the bulk of the work is in the lyrics and the arrangement. Okay, but once you got the skeleton down, it's just like whatever. The other shit's tedious, but it's not. Um, it's you don't have to worry about it because the hard part is done. You know. Okay. Let me go over some other ways to actually produce productivity tips. Right. Let's say you're jamming on the guitar or bass or keys or whatever, and you have a sick ass chord progression. / groove. If you can get one of these, fill in the blanks, bro. Then you can say, okay, here you go, boom, or boom, and then you fill in the blanks. Okay, chord progression with the groove. If you can get one of those when you're just jamming out, just write that shit down, record it or whatever on the phone, like the same thing I did. And that's another way to increase your productivity. Another way is to start off with a bass line. Just need a simple bass line. Just something cool that sounds pumping. And it could be like a descending bass line, like boom, 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 boom. And then you build shit on top of it and around it. Boom, 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 boom. There's a bass line. Boom, 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 boom. And then you could go to another part of the song. Or that could be an intro. Boom, 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 boom. Something like that, whatever. You can start with the fucking bass line, and then you can figure out where it goes in the song, and then you can build around that. That's another tip. Let me see what else I got. Okay, so basically that's it. You got just to productivity, melody. Start with the melody. Start with a bass line. Start with a chord progression / groove, and do scratch tracks and build around that as much as you can. Put that shit in the can, meaning record it, and then you have things that you can work with, because that is the most important part. Once you got one building block, you can build it to another building block quite easily. All you have to know is the harmonies and shit, and like I said, I'll break that shit down in another video. Okay, so here's another thing. Another tip to help your song productivity, because writing songs, I mean, obviously it takes a while to learn music and shit, but once you know the formula and shit, it's actually very simple. It's a very simple process, and then you just get better and better and better at it with more practice, just like everything else. But yeah, so okay, here's another song productivity tips. What is the fucking concept of the song? Okay, is it a fucking like a commercial song jingle? Commercial jingle, where it's just like really catchy, blah blah blah? Is it a fucking pop song, like a sad ballad type slow song atmosphere? Like slow ballad? Is it a funky upbeat song? You know, do you want people to dance to it or whatever? If you have a fucking concept of what you want it to sound like, even before you do any of the shit that I just told you to do with the fucking tips, that would actually, something happens, dude, in the fucking universe and in your brain. Okay, I'm not making this shit up. What happens is your brain is like a fucking computer. Actually, you're electromagnetic. Okay, you're electromagnetic. People are electromagnetic, and what happens is you're like, okay, I want the concept. I have a concept. So automatically your fucking brain is like do 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 do, and all of a sudden, dude, the fucking universe, whatever, you get inspired, and then it starts to pick it up. It just picks it up, dude. It just fucking picks it up, and then you start to hear the music in your head, dude, and that's how it works. You are in, it's like you're setting the radio on the frequency radio to find what you're looking for, and then you lock onto that station of the universe and shit, and then all of a sudden you start to get these jams, and then what you notice is you get really good at this, and unfortunately, like this happens to me, and it probably happens to a lot of musicians, like like Mozart or some shit, where it's just like your brain doesn't shut the fuck up. It's like there's like a hose, and you can't, like, you're trying to sleep, you keep thinking about music and shit and go in your head, and then it gets really fucking nasty where it's just like what you're doing is like how Ableton, I was telling you could like overdub shit. Well, your brain starts overdubbing that shit, and you actually start to think of the actual music in your fucking head, how it's gonna turn out before you actually get into the recording. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh my god, I'm writing music in my head that hasn't been written down yet. And I think that's how composers did a lot of their work, like like a Gershwin or something. Or Mozart, they had their music in their head, and they're able to just have it written out before they write it out, right? And then obviously they're like, well, how do you do that? That's not possible. Well, think about it, dude. If you got a musician that's been playing a fucking violin since they were 3 years old, and they've been studying, they do drills, of like, chord progressions and bass lines and all kinds of shit. So they already know the formulas. They already know the fucking formulas. I'm teaching you the fucking goddamn formulas, dude. It's not, once you memorize the goddamn formulas, dude, boom. But you gotta memorize the formulas, and you gotta study the harmony. Like I said, watch my video on harmony. I'm gonna break some shit down to you. Well, actually, I'll give you some tips right now, okay, for song productivity. If you want to be a songwriter, do what the fuck I tell you to do, and you'll be fucking awesome, okay? Chord spelling, okay? Chord spelling. This is a very important, extremely. I could do a fucking goddamn book on this goddamn shit, because it's that important. Chord spelling. I remember when I first started taking music classes at Santa Barbara City College, I actually failed maybe 4 times, right? And I eventually got A's in those classes. And how did I do that? How did I fucking do that? Chord spelling. I had a teacher, his name's Dr. Clark, and he said, guys, you gotta memorize the chord spelling, because when you guys write music, if you make one fucking mistake, you fucked up. It has to be perfect 100% of the time, right? There ain't no goddamn mistakes in music. All right, think about that. You give the band the goddamn lead sheet, and they're ready to record, and you may say, well, that's kind of crazy, man. No, actually, back in the day, the ink used to be running from the goddamn page, because they just fucking wrote it. They didn't have fucking Xeroxes back then, right? So then think about that shit. You write it down, and you're ready to press record on the fucking record button, and you're gonna go live. And if there's one fucking hiccup or mistake or fucking wrong chord in there, it fucks up the whole song. It's just like, oh man, beautiful song. Then you hear that wrong note, and you're like, ah, damn, that's a wrong note, baby. And you wrote that, and you made a fucking mistake. That's your fault. Anyways, whatever. So, chord spelling. What the fuck is a chord spelling? Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. in tertiary harmony, basically it's built on thirds, okay, for the most part, okay. And then what the chord spelling is basically you're stacking the thirds on top of each other. So for example, like you want an A minor chord, it's A, C, E, right? Yeah, A, C, E. If you want a major A chord, then it's A, C sharp, E, right? Let me just double check. Yeah. And there's a formula to all this shit. There's a formula to it. And I'm kind of rusty right now, but this is how I did it. I take major chords, minor chords, seventh dominant chords, seventh minor, and then seventh, and then major seventh chords. These are like the basic chords, okay? And then I'll go through it. Like A flat, A sharp, B flat, B sharp, C flat, C sharp. And go through all of them. And some of them are like you don't really use a B sharp. That's a C. But do it anyway, so you know the theory, right? And basically, once you know the formula, then it's like, okay, well, you go through it, and you got let's see, A, C, E flat, A, C sharp, E, A sharp, C double sharp, E sharp, B, D, F, B, D sharp, F sharp, D double sharp, F double sharp, shit like that, right? You go through them, right? And you do it for all of them. You do it for all of them. And there's charts out there on the internet that will fucking, you can look it up, you know? But what you want to do is you get a fucking pencil, you get a notebook, and you go through all of these goddamn chords, and you write them down. You write them down. You write them down. You write them down. And you write them down. And you memorize the chord spelling. So what does that mean? It's like, think how powerful that shit is. Now let's say you know the functional harmonies, right? With the Roman numerals. If you know the chord spelling, it doesn't matter what key you're in. You can just plug and play, and you know what chords go where. You know what I'm saying? And it makes your productivity go through the fucking roof. Through the fucking roof. Because there's a lot of music students out there that, like, they'll take the test and shit, and then they'll be, like, counting the goddamn keys on the piano. And you don't want to do that, because why? That takes time. Memorize that fucking shit. You invest in the goddamn memorization here, and then all of a sudden you're beast. You're beast mode. I haven't done this shit in, like, I don't know, goddamn 8 years, but I'm kind of rusty right now. But that's how I got A's in my music classes, because I memorized the fucking chord spelling. You know? That way you don't have to think, because every single chord here, they have a different formula. Some of the chords or letters have the same formula, and some have, you know, it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking goddamn mess. But if you memorize it, it's not a mess anymore, because you don't have to think about it. It's already memorized. Okay, so that's a huge fucking skill right there, you know. Yeah, so everybody, if you want song productivity tips, do what I'm telling you to do. Okay, let's see what else I got. That's pretty good. Actually, that's pretty good. That's pretty fucking solid. Song productivity tips. Again, you gotta know harmony function, and watch another video that I'll make on that. And pretty much, you want to have it so study music so where you can, it's very formulaic, okay, where it's like algebra, where it really takes, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't know, man, they try to romanticize the music, you know what I'm saying? And really, dude, don't. Take the romanticizing of art, like, put that in the trash. Because what you really want to do as a musician, especially if you're a songwriter, a composer, or whatever, is you want to have it so you can communicate with other musicians. You know what I'm saying? If you got your lead sheet, you got your arrangement, bam, you give it to some jazz players, you'll have a fucking hit, bro. Yeah, guaranteed. Because that's what they're fucking trained to do. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be that guy where like, oh my god, I have this song on my guitar and it's like I don't know anything about music. I'm a self taught idiot and I think I'm playing. It's like you're playing an A chord. Is that what it is? It's A chord. Yeah, and it goes to it goes to E. Yeah, okay. You don't want to be that fucking guy, okay? Don't be that guy, okay? Yeah, so do the chord spelling shit. And if you can't go to not, oh yeah, I forgot to do this too. Do diminished chords. Do minor 7 flat 5 chords, which are half diminished chords, and then there are half diminished seventh chords, and then do nines. And if you really want to get saucy, bro, 11s and 13s. You know, get that money. And then when you're doing your charts and stuff, when you see shit like fucking chord, like omit 5 or whatever, then you start to realize, oh, it's like, don't play, like if you play a fucking C E G B, right, or some shit, C E G B flat, basically in the omit 5, basically saying don't play this G. You know, or you see shit like this over this, that means like, you know, the chord spelling, you just, oh, okay, yeah, okay, fuck it, whatever, sounds good. And that is what it is. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful to you, then obviously share it. And like, subscribe, all that fucking shit. And I hope this was helpful to you, okay? This is a lot of painful failures in my music education that I was able to overcome with these tips, okay? So get that money. Okay, peace.